Kevin. I really appreciate you inviting me to talk on this very important topic today, and I appreciate everyone that's joined the call this morning and your interest in the vSphere optimization assessment. 2 minutes late to the call this morning, just because there's fervor within VMware around this particular sales play and the accessibility it gives our partners to many different types of customers. So, quick introduction. I'm Kyle Geisler. I'm a cloud management specialist in America's Partner Organization. Many of you on the phone I've probably worked with already. Those of you I haven't, I look forward to. My role is helping our channel build a cloud management practice and not just develop competency, but learn how to use these tool sets to sell even more, not just VMware, but all the other types of hardware and services you guys are looking for opportunities for. So a couple things I wanted to talk about before we get into kind of the meat of the vSphere optimization assessment. Here, give me a second here. I'll get my presentation going. Sorry about that. So I like to start these conversations with sort of a brief orientation of where this product set fits with your customers today. So many of our customers are looking to adopt the software-defined enterprise model, and it's important for you guys to understand, where our management stack fits in that. And it's important for every customer that is looking at the software-defined enterprise to realize that it all starts with their applications, regardless of what kind they are, traditional, modern, SaaS applications, whatever. It's the apps that people care about these days, right? These apps all require some level of infrastructure. That's where we've made our bones, right? Is abstracting and virtualizing the compute resources in the data center. I think we've done a pretty good job of that, right? What we're doing now with software-defined storage and software-defined networking is we're completing that abstraction layer across the whole data center and pooling every resource, not just the compute resources that our customers' applications need to run. And when we do that, what we've done is we've decoupled the application from the underlying infrastructure, and that gives us portability, and it gives us the flexibility to take advantage of public cloud solutions. That's what we at VMware call the hybrid cloud, is being able to leverage your on-premise deployments and your public clouds independently. And it all requires abstraction and pooling of all of the network, of all of the data center resources to create, a fully portable application set. But we don't want to take inefficient application stacks into the cloud. We don't want to migrate things into potentially more costly resources without making sure that they're running as efficiently as possible and leveraging as much automation and show back to the business as possible. And that's where the policy-based management and automation in the VMware vRealize operations and vRealize suite comes into play. The management layer is really the control plane for the software-defined data center. In my opinion, it's the gateway to the cloud for many of our customers. And then, add on top of that an end-user computing solution that allows access to those applications anywhere, anytime, and that builds out the full model of the software-defined enterprise. This is the vision that many of our customers have bought into and are working towards. And I wanted you guys to see that this management layer that we're going to be talking about today, it's at the very core of this whole vision. So that said, let's kind of move into what we're doing today. We're talking about the vSphere optimization assessment. This is obviously a great way to tee up a vSOM opportunity with your customer, or vCOps, or I should say now the vRealize operations opportunity. The market opportunity around management is huge. These are old numbers, and growth rates have continued to increase. So more than 25 million unmanaged vSphere hosts out there. 80% of our customers run what we call naked vSphere. So there's a huge opportunity in your install base today to take advantage of this. So the vSphere optimization assessment. If there's anybody on the phone that doesn't know, this is a best practice health check. It leverages what I call a micro POC of VC ops, VR ops, and tries to show all the best value of our management stack to the customer in a very short period of time. There's tons of assets that have already been built for you. They're all available on the landing page. There's a link on the bottom of this screen, vmware.com/go/vSphere optimization. I can't overstate the value of the resources on that page. A lot of what we're going to be talking about today has come directly from what we've already built for you guys. It's available on Partner Central via that landing page. So definitely make sure you jot down that link or click it when you get the slides later. But the VOA is designed to have a couple of quick, easy steps: engage, install, show, and sell. We want to create a quick, time-bound proof of concept around our operations management, whether it be vSOM or full-blown vRealize suite. And the important part is to show the customer the value of the solution at the end. And we do that with a really compelling report. And I know that's one of the reasons that we're on the phone today, to kind of talk about what are the best ways to build that report, and we're going to get to that very quickly. Quick little update. Here we are, the beginning of the fourth quarter of 2014. And we can proudly say that partners that have executed the VOA have got a 25% rate of closure overall across our channel. So that's pretty substantial, especially when you consider that the average deal size is greater than 60K. So there's a lot of opportunity just in VMware license sales. But for me, the part that's better about the VOA is what I call the Trojan horse. It's your foot in the door. It's your opportunity to re-engage with a sale account or to show your value to a competitive account, and to discover opportunities for other servers, storage, and professional services. This really is your way to come to the table with something of value, a report around the efficiency of the customer's environment, but use that as an intelligence gathering mission to talk to them about all of the other projects they're working on, the other needs and pain points they have in their environment. So a vSphere optimization assessment will absolutely tee up vSOM or vRealize Suite opportunities, maybe even vCloud Suite or other VMware opportunities. But there's a huge potential for services, and I got to tell you, the partners of mine who are using this play as a way to discover professional services opportunities are capturing the full value of the VOA. It's great, and I love that you're out there, getting vCops installed, right? But if that's all you're doing, I think you're leaving money and effort on the table. In this new mobile cloud era, a lot of our partners are looking at services as a way to recoup some of that hardware drag that's waning. And this is a great play to use to discover those opportunities. So when you're done with a VOA, the data you can get out of I'm going to keep stumbling over this today. The data you can get out of the vRealize Suite will allow you to make recommendations on what workloads can move into the cloud. Will allow you to make propose statements of work around optimization engagements with your customers. There's no reason why at the end of a month you can't, along with the optimization report, present an SOW to act on those optimization recommendations. There's a lot of services opportunity with the VOA, and don't discount that. I encourage everybody on the phone to look at that. So all those things are valuable, and they all add up to dollars. But the best part of the VOA is the value you're bringing to the customer at no cost helps drive that stickiness that a lot of our partners are telling us they're losing with their accounts. And it does that by reinforcing that trusted advisor role. You're bringing skills and expertise to the table that the customer doesn't have. You're bringing them tools they haven't seen before that can show them how to maximize their environment. That's all goodness, and it does nothing but improve your relationship in that account. So, Kevin and Julian, I am not watching the chat, so if there's any question that comes up that I should address while talking, please bring that up to my attention.
Absolutely.
So, thanks. Let's jump into kind of what is the right way to execute a BCR optimization assessment. There's a lot of options on the table out there. I guess I want to start by making sure we understand all of the stages of this particular play. So we call it a 4-step process: engage, install, show, and sell. Now, what we're talking about with engage is picking the right customers, and we'll talk about qualification in a second. But there's certainly better customers than others, right? When trying to determine the right types and size of accounts to go after. Typically, we'll recommend enterprise level license holders and higher, just because of the ease of install for VCOps requiring DRS. You can drop that in that cluster very easily. We'll talk about the normal qualification requirements for VSOM. Look at 50 to 75 virtual machines or higher as the right size environment to really need the sort of analytics and insight that VCOps offers. And we'll talk about a few more things in a minute as well. Now, the install is a very important part of the process as well. It's where I'm assuming that most of the folks that I have on the call here are technical in nature, maybe SD or solution architect types. This is where you're engaging with your customer to discover the right allocation models, the right policy settings to define, and actually working with them to get the tool installed in their environment. VCOps at its core is an analytics engine, so it takes time to build its data set to make its recommendation. So it's important to get that install done up front and then come back later and show the results of that effort, right? And you can do that in lots of different ways. We built a couple of great templates around a report that kind of pulls the best pieces of the data or the best pieces of the tool into a document that's designed not for the typical vSphere admin, but maybe more for kind of a business decision maker sort of audience. What we want to get across, there's a lot of really deep technical data in VCOps, but we want to get across the idea that this can help the business better understand and more simply operate their IT infrastructure. And the purpose of the report or the show stage, which is typically utilizing a report, is to really communicate that value of the tool. And then, of course, the sell stage of the process. We're doing this for all of those reasons I mentioned before, but also because we want to position the right products for the customer. So once we've proven the value with a report, with a demonstration, with a presentation, whatever means that is, we want to position the right solution and sell that to the customer. So engage, install, show, and sell for relatively simple and straightforward steps. What does that look like if we peel the onion back and look a little deeper? So this is not the way you have to do it. This is just a recommendation. A lot of our successful partners that have been doing VOA for a while now kind of do it like this. You time bound it. You put bookends on it. It's a 4-week engagement, right? It starts when you install and it ends when you show the report and try and get agreement to purchase a VMware product, right? The tool runs for 30 days collecting data. Because of the nature of the analytics engine, there are parts of the data that are accurate early on. The health and workload data is usually pretty accurate after a few hours, and certainly after a week. But it takes more time for the efficiency and risk, the trend analysis, capacity, utilization, and analysis data to be accurate. So that's why this has to run for 30 days. So keep that in mind. If you want to use this to generate pipeline and close deals here in Q4, you've essentially got the first third of the quarter to get some of these installed, give you the time to work these deals to close. So there's a built-in 30-day period here at the very least. Because of the nature of the maturity of the data across that 30-day period, it sort of lends itself to some best practice around engagement. Let's talk about the beginning, the day one for a minute. The first engagement with the customer is really about discovering what their pain points are, learning what's most difficult for them in their environment. Maybe it's hard to troubleshoot their vSphere environment. Maybe they've clearly got capacity issues and they need to plan for growth. Maybe it's just trying to find better consolidation ratios. Whatever it is, this is the part of the process where you ask questions and listen to the answers, right? And try and discover what the problems are that they want solved. It's easy when you just ask the questions. Most of the time, customers tell us exactly what they want, right? During that discussion, you want to understand what are the pain points that you're going to be able to illustrate clearly with VCOps. This is where your knowledge of the solution comes into play. So, before setting out to do a vSphere optimization assessment, I encourage everyone to get at least a running copy of VCOPS in your lab environment, or go through the hands-on lab on our website. There's all sorts of ways for you to enable yourself around the tool set and get familiar with it. There's a bunch of really great videos that we've put together as collateral specifically for the vSphere optimization assessment. So that landing page I linked to a minute ago, and I'll show you again in a second, is vmware.com/go/vSphere optimization. There are hours of videos on that website that you can watch to learn everything you need to know about getting a VOA off the ground, from the technical perspective as well as from the sales side. Because I know that the SEs can't do this on their own, right? We need to have our salespeople engaged from the beginning, working with the customer, making sure the right decision makers are involved at the show stage, keeping the deal moving, right? So it's very important that you work together as a team to keep this flow moving. It's also really important that, once you've installed, or even before you install the vSphere optimization assessment, that you register the deal in Advantage Plus. So deal registration, it gives you a pricing advantage in the very beginning, and it lets us track our progress with this program and your progress as a partner. So that's an absolutely important stage of this process. So I've got some slides in the back of this deck that will show you exactly how to do that if you have questions. And there's descriptions of the process, again, on that landing page. So up front, you're talking with the customer, you're discovering what their challenges are in their environment, and you're thinking about how you're going to be able to prove to them that this kind of solution solves those challenges for them. As we move through the 30-day collection period for the data, a great way to keep an optimization assessment alive with a little bit of effort is maybe a phone call or WebEx halfway through to show the customer, a quick demonstration of their new tool, right? Typically, when we install VCOPS, we'll tell people just set it and forget it and come back a few weeks later. You can keep this moving because, after all, we want to use the VOA as a sales acceleration tool. We don't want this to slow down any sales cycle. That's why we call it a mini proof of concept, right? So halfway through, you can engage your customer with a really interesting demo of some of the data points that are accurate. You can check and make sure that the policy settings that you've created are collecting the right data, that things are looking right, and you can walk your customer through their new tool. I mentioned this before. There's great video available on the landing page that'll show you how to demo VCOPS if you've never done it before, or if you don't know how to do a real concise, clean demo of it, we've got that covered for you on YouTube. Watch that video, 20 minutes. You can learn how to give your customer a real nice harbor tour, and maybe even tease them with some of the features of the custom UI. Right. So keep the engagement moving through the 30-day process by reaching out to the customer, doing a demo live on their environment. And as the data starts to mature, as we start to get a large enough data set to make capacity and efficiency assumptions, you can start planning for whatever your close event is. Now, it depends on the way you're going to do the VOA, what your close event looks like. Maybe you're engaging all remotely with your customer. Maybe you're doing this all on site, right? At the end, you want to present your findings and your recommendations to the right business decision maker. Show them that you understand the pain points that you discovered in the beginning of the assessment, and show them how this solution can help alleviate. So, when we're talking about building the report here in a few minutes, you're going to hear me say this a lot. It really depends on your judgment and your assessment of what's necessary in that environment. I mean, every customer's environment is different, right? Some are going to be heavily over-allocated. Some are going to have a low utilization score, right? And these are all things that every environment is going to have its unique challenges. And so understanding what their pain points are in the beginning, and then keeping that in mind as you're looking at the data at the end, and building whatever it is you're presenting to the customer, is going to make this a much more effective close for you. Right, so there's a lot of things that we should consider when starting an optimization assessment. So I've already mentioned this once. Get a clear understanding of the pain points. Think of this as any other proof of concept, right? Understand what your success criteria are going into it. Even if you don't use those words with the customer, knowing what their pains are is going to help you understand what you have to do to make this a win, right? So understand success criteria moving into it, and keep that top of mind as you go through the whole assessment. Always driving to those points when possible. So having a conversation in the very beginning about the customer's priorities, about the way they allocate resources in their environment. Do they follow an allocation model versus a demand model? And if you have some questions about that, guess what? We've got videos that explain that for you and talk to you about how to have that conversation with your customer. At the end of the day, what it means is choosing the right settings when configuring VCOps out of the box determines what level of alerts you're going to get, how conservative our assumptions are about growth and change in the environment. So understanding, if the customer prefers to have a certain allocation ratio for CPU or a certain ratio for memory versus, just working off a demand model. Let's you configure policies correctly in the beginning. And this is probably the key point of an optimization assessment. Any customer can go out to our website and download VCOps. And they can install it, and they can let it run for themselves, right? The value you're bringing to the table is your understanding of the solution, is your experience using it in the past, and this right here, helping them configure the settings correctly in the beginning. We want to focus on, building the report today, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on policy creation because we've got lots of videos and documents out there on how to do this correctly. There's also any number of blog posts written by all sorts of elite VMware gurus that explain this topic at length. So what you need to do, if you haven't done this before, is set aside an hour or two to enable yourself. In fact, I think I've got a slide here coming up with the links to some of these videos. Set aside an hour or two, make sure you watch a few of these, read some of the blog posts, look through some of our documentation, and it'll be pretty apparent right up front what you've got to do to add value. And here's the best part. It's really simple. You just have to understand a few of the check boxes and a couple of the sliders when creating a policy. And that'll really make or break a successful VOA. I mentioned this earlier, and it's something that you should consider. You can use a VOA in any size customer environment, and it depends on the amount of effort and work you want to put out as to the return that you get. But keep in mind that vRealize operations, VApp requires a DRS-enabled cluster. And if you want to install it in an environment that does not support DRS, Essentials license or a standard level license, there is a workaround you got to do that. A couple of my partners have been tripped up by that, not knowing that going into it, so I figured I'd put it on the slide and make everybody aware of that. Another good thing to do is use an advanced license for the proof of concept. When you hit that landing page, vmware.com/go/vSphere optimization, when you download the launch kit, one of the files included in that kit is license keys. And we'll give you all the license keys for standard, a couple of different versions depending on what might be installed in the customer's environment from a vSphere perspective. And advanced and enterprise 5.8 vCops. So we'll give you the licenses to even install an enterprise instance of vCops if you want to. And, some of my partners have actually done that. For some customers, the right size opportunity, with the right potential, they'll install Infrastructure Navigator or, a few of the other enterprise suite components just to add to the richness of the experience for the customer. But again, it all depends on, your personal ROI. For most partners and for most customers, installing the advanced license for vCops will give you all of the data that you need and allow you to make all the recommendations that you can about the customer's environment. And it'll give you a few extra things that you can show off. Custom dashboards as a great example. Maybe install one of the management packs for AWS or vCloud Air as an example. If your customer uses those. They're relatively simple to install, and they don't add to the complexity of the VOA very much. Yes, so we'll make sure everybody gets a copy of these slides, but again, on the vSphere Optimization Assessment landing page, these YouTube videos are linked there. The first link I've included here is a great video done by Jim Silvera about it's actually part 2 in the series, but it's about creating those policies. And he steps you through the policy creation wizard, if you will, and explains each of the settings and the impact they'll have on the data you're going to collect. So it's, like I said, it's the first 20 minutes of that video. It's a little more time than we wanted to spend today, but it's definitely out there, useful. In fact, I would say it's required. If you're going to do one of these and you haven't watched this video, it's because you're, a VCDX and you don't need to be listening to me anyway, right? The other link I've got here is the part 1 of his series, and it's really just a great 20-minute overview of vCops.
How did I know you were the Eric that was asking the question?
I beg your pardon? Okay. *6, whoever that was. So the other link I got here is part 1 of Jim's series, and it's just a great 20-minute version of a vCops demo. So if you've never demoed it before, if you don't know how to explain each of the badges, the minor badges, this is a great video to orient you to. What a way to VOA. Okay, so I mentioned a couple times, we've been running this since the beginning of Q4. We've got 80 some odd partners, I think, that are actively doing these now and have been since the beginning of the year. And so we've learned a number of really good best practices around how to engage with your customer. So clearly, one of the best is one-to-one, on-site, working with your account contacts and helping them install VC Ops and walking them through the policy settings, doing it all one-on-one and in person. This is going to be the most valuable in all of those intangible long-term ways. It's going to improve your relationship with that account. It's going to show you as a trusted advisor. It's going to increase your stickiness. It's going to give you the ability to sniff out all those other opportunities that are just laying there waiting for you or somebody else with the initiative to find them. It's the best, but probably the least scalable way to do these. This works great if you've got a lot of partners local to you. Certainly it gets expensive if you got to travel a lot to do this, right? Which leads to the next point, a one-on-one remote. A lot of my partners are finding this is a perfectly viable way to do this. We're all doing things by WebEx these days, more and more it seems, and working with your customer to get VC Ops installed is pretty easy over WebEx. Clearly, you lose some of the personal touch associated with being there on site. You lose some of that stickiness factor, obviously, but this is a great way to tee up these opportunities and and knock down some wins. And if you're using this tactic in conjunction with a targeted propensity list, maybe you're looking at your install base for naked vSphere customers who have more than 100 virtual machines, or whatever the criteria are that you decide is appropriate for your company. And this is a great way to get some scale and still create a lot of really personal engagement. Now, another one of the really good ones is what we call a one-to-many event. This is where you set up a lunch and learn, or one of my partners in Dallas has a monthly poker night, and you invite some customers in, walk them through installing VC Ops remotely in their own environment, help them configure the policy settings again remotely, and do a little lunch and learn on DCOPS, or try and take their money at poker. But you create an event around installing VC Ops in a one-to-many fashion. So one of you working with many of your customers at the same time to get it installed. Clearly, follow-up needs to be done on a one-on-one basis, but this is a great way to get some scale around install. And with a batting average of 25% across the board for VOAs, you get 10 of those on the board, and there's a good chance you're going to close a few of them, just law of averages. So that's a great way to get those, to get the ball moving on some of those. Some of you may have seen, we put together a little, I'm completely blanking on what these are called, infographic on all things you need to think about for these one-to-many events, and if you want the higher res version of this after the fact, let me know. But do some targeted campaigns up front, and send emails out to your customers preparing them for what they're going to need. Download these bits. Make sure you have an IP range set up, so on. There's a couple of small checklist items that you have to have before doing one of these. And any one of you guys that wants to set up a one-to-many event, let me know, and I can happily give you the checklist my team's built for preparing. All right. So the real value, in our opinion, of the VOA is the report itself, right? It's building the value of the product in the customer's mind in a documented, tangible way that they can, put in their hands. So a kind of wanted to walk through what that looks like in its various different forms. With the launch toolkit that you download from the VOA landing page, there is a report template. Let's see if I've got that here. You guys have probably seen this before if you've looked into doing any of these optimization assessments. This is a template that we built as part of the vSphere optimization assessment, and I've heard from some of my partners that this is cumbersome and maybe a little confusing on how to complete. So let's talk through some of this right now, and I kind of wanted to take you guys through what you actually have to do to fill out this report template and make it meaningful for your customer. But I also wanted to give you kind of a sneak peek of something we're working on for this quarter, which is another template option around kind of a PowerPoint document that's a little more concise and maybe more executive savvy. So my apologies for not having this completely ready to launch for you guys. It'll absolutely be ready within the next week. But I just kind of wanted to tease you a little bit with a VMware partner co-branded report template that we're about to release. And so what I was going to do is kind of walk through how I would fill out one of these reports, focusing on the efficiency section, and I'll just kind of give you the example for both of these report templates. So I have here in front of me, let me make sure I'm still logged into it. I have in front of me one of my demo labs. I'll tell you right now, disregard some of the data you see here because this is a demo lab. And it's not going to look exactly the same as it would in a customer environment. But I wanted to show you, the kind of things I would go after if I were to highlight, the customer's efficiency section of this report. So as you can see, kind of a small little lab that's got a lot of risk associated with it. In fact, we've got one extremely overworked cluster here, or I should say at capacity cluster. So a quick orientation of the templates, in the existing Word doc template that we've got out there, basically replace everything that's in blue, right? Replace your customer's company name, and talk about the products you're going to recommend to them. You can use our ROI TCO calculator or even our infrastructure planner to come up with some real hard numbers and figures if you want to associate ROI with the VOA. There are even other ways to do that too. I should probably take a step back and help you understand that this is just a template, right? You use as much or as little of this as you want, as you think you need to close this deal with your customer, right? So if some of this doesn't apply, if you don't need to show ROI, if you don't want to put costing information in there, if you don't even want to address, how you use VCOps for troubleshooting, don't. Pull those things right out of this report. I've seen some of these reports from my partners that don't look anything like this template at all when my partner's done with it. So just use this as a rough guideline, right? And use your best judgment. Again, understanding what the challenges are in your customer's environment. Just try and highlight them. So in this scenario, I'm gonna replace some of the efficiency scores and add some of the reports that I think are important based on this demo lab that I've got here in front of me. So a couple of tricks that I've learned building these reports. When you're capturing screenshots from VCOps, it matters how big the window is. So if I maximize my screen here as an example, you can see that this efficiency widget gets really wide. That's great if I say want to capture this and put it into into the Word doc. Because it makes a nice wide badge with a score there and a little bit of formatting, and it looks really, really nice right there in the template. But if I'm working with, say, a PowerPoint presentation, and this new template we're about to release, I don't necessarily want a really wide widget, right? I want something that's a little more compact. So I shrink the window, take my screenshot at this smaller size, and it becomes a lot more compact and easier to paste right here into this PowerPoint template, right? Now, if I'm describing efficiency to my customer, there's a couple things I want to highlight. For sure, I want to talk about reclaimable waste. And again, here I'm just following sort of what we've laid out here in the template. If I'm building it for a Word doc, kind of wide, so it takes up the whole screen or the whole document, capture that widget right off the main dashboard. Delete the template delete the placeholder that's in the template. And add the customer's actual data. Again, a little bit of formatting and it looks fine. You can go to town with this if you want to. I have some partners that have completely rebuilt their templates. In reclaimable waste, we recommend that you add a few of our reports. Reports is kind of it's a little bit of a misnomer. If you use VCOps before, you know that reports and views are pretty much the same thing. So if I'm going to highlight reclaimable waste as an example, I'm probably going to look at oversized virtual machines as I want to capture that whole data center, all their oversized virtual machines. Now, I've seen what a lot of partners do is try and screenshot these tables, and not only does it bloat the size of your document, but it doesn't really look good. VCOps will let you export into CSV. This is the best way to take any of this table data into one of the Word templates. What I do is I just export into a CSV like this, open it in Excel, and do a little bit of formatting. Give it some colors. I like to have the VMs sorted by like the biggest wasters, so I'll usually sort by in ascending by CPU, and then I tweak these tables a little bit by hiding some of the unnecessary information. So now I can capture the top 10 oversized virtual machines, copy it out of Excel, and put it right here in the report. Again, with a little bit of formatting, it looks great. Way better than if you try to screenshot one of these tables. Same situation here in the PowerPoint template. When you paste from Excel, you get something that's a lot easier to work with. I forgot to put the reclaimable waste widget on that page too. So again, what you're doing is you're creating a really impactful and visually appealing presentation for your customer. They don't have to flip through a 20-page report. You can give them 5 PowerPoint slides if you need to. So what we're just trying to do here is give you recommendations, give you examples of ways that you can do this, things that we've seen have been successful. Again, this is rinse and repeat here. Take a few screenshots here and there of really useful information and add it to your template, and you've got a really dynamic, very appealing report that shows your customer a lot of interesting and valuable data. So, put that back in the density section on the Word template. So again, regardless of how you're presenting this information to your customer, we're just taking a few simple screenshots and pulling, best practice recommended reports, oversized virtual machines, As an example, let's see here, I've got a couple others. Under risk, you can use the virtual machine capacity summary view or the capacity efficiency trend. When you're showing off risk to your customer, or when you're building the case for risk, the capacity efficiency trend report is a very interesting graph. I'll find it here. Here's cluster capacity, very similar graph, and it shows you all sorts of really interesting metrics on a trend. And what's great about the analytics engine inside VCOps is it can show you historical data, and it can show you the trend into the future, right? So you can literally make predictive analyses about your customer's environment based on this trend data and put that into their report. That kind of thing, to those of us that know this product well, seems relatively straightforward and simple, but for customers that have never seen this before, it's mind-blowing. You can get really fancy using some of the heat map views from the analysis tab around disk latency, as an example, or network congestion when you're trying to showcase the health of the environment. Don't have time to show you all of those things today, but we can definitely get engaged one-on-one if we need to, if you guys want to work through this some more. There's a lot of really, really compelling data that's in VCOps that you can bring into these reports. So, for me, it comes back to understanding your customer's pain points and trying to illustrate those the way we can solve those with the data that's available for you in VCOps. And once you've taken a few simple screenshots and added them into, whether it's a Word document or a PowerPoint template, you've created something that's really compelling and very interesting for your customer to consume. So I can give this to any business level decision maker within a customer account, and they can read this and say, okay, I understand how much waste I have in my environment, and I know which virtual machines are creating the majority of that waste. I can go to those business units and address that. Or I can hire you, Mr. Partner, to come in and reconfigure all these things for me and reclaim that waste. I know we're quickly approaching the top of the hour, so maybe I will take a break for a breath right there and see if there are any questions that we need to address that have come up in chat. Julian, Kevin?
We had a couple, Kyle, that came up in chat that we went ahead and dealt with. But I think that and somebody correct me or echo for me. I think this is great. This is absolutely what we wanted to see today. And perhaps maybe a little bit around each of those individual sections. For example, like you said, inside of the major badge, the minor badge, and the supporting data, kind of where you're seeing that go into the final report. The PowerPoint. Just kind of how that's going to build out, and what we're looking for in a structure inside of this more executive friendly report.
Sure. Well, so and that's the thing, right? It's hard for me to say do this every time. Pretty much the only view that's universally applicable is that oversized virtual machine report, right? Everybody's got those. Everybody has oversized VM, and that's a real hot one because it can help you reclaim capacity in your environment. The other things are a little more subtle, right? Looking at heat maps to discover where I/O congestion exists, whether it's disk-related or network-related. Understanding where CPU contention is. These are all things that that affect the health of an environment. understanding just the size of the average configured virtual machine and how that affects, the capacity risk of the environment. This is why I say it's very dependent upon what the challenges are in that customer's environment. And you're going to add so much value to your customer here. You come in, you're going to talk to them about what they think their pain points are. And it's very possible that just by clicking through BCOPS and looking at a few of these reports and views, you're going to discover that their pain points aren't what they thought they were. That is a very common refrain from customers that purchase VCOPS. Well, we thought we had CPU contention issues, but it turns out we were constrained by data stores, or I/O constriction. Those are things we hear all the time. So I'd like to tell you there's a one-size-fits-all approach, and this slide right here is my best shot at doing that. Look at reclaimable waste, look at over and undersized virtual machines when you're talking about efficiency. Look at the virtual machine capacity summary when you're talking about risk. Look at the capacity efficiency trend on a cluster when you're talking about risk. And look at the workload specifics, the event specifics when when you want to kind of highlight how to troubleshoot with VCOPS. Look at the heat maps for average read and write latency, network congestion. Those are all things that are directly applicable to the health of the environment. So it's up to you to use your intelligence and ability to use this tool to pick the right pieces of information to highlight the value. Every environment's going to be different. This is where you can start, but it's by no means exhaustive or the end-all be-all. It's going to depend on every customer's environment.
Any other questions out there? Anybody? I know that we get a lot of talk, a lot of inbound stuff regarding VOA. So this is a great time to chime in. While we've got Kyle on the line here today. So please, by all means, unmute your lines and get talkative.
Kevin?
Well, with that, I would just like to thank Kyle, once again for putting this together. This is fantastic content. I'm very much looking forward to seeing, the new report templates coming out. I know that a lot of this is, just a wonderfully echoed effort of what we're seeing all of you do out in the field with VOA, and how that's being translated back into us, as VMware as a whole, and what we're able to give back to you from those fantastic efforts and input. And again, Kyle did a fantastic job of putting this together. I'm looking forward to seeing more. And I think that one of my big takeaways from this is beyond the tips and tricks, like making sure to use the advanced license so that you can get the right metrics and drop those in there. That this really is a fully customizable type of deployment. And if you don't want to do a report, you just want to do a click through with a projector, you could do that. And you can customize this to fit those client needs and to build those drag stories, even beyond just the VSOM sale. So, look out for, more sessions we have, coming up this quarter about vCenter operations and more of the, launches that we're going to be looking at, across our product set. There's a lot of fantastic stuff. Feel free to reach out to me directly or, to your distributor and your colleagues. And, with that, I wish you all, a fantastic day. And thank you all so much for joining, and I look forward to talking to you here in a couple more weeks.